Timor-Leste, also known as East Timor. Timor-Leste has a complex and tumultuous history marked by Portuguese colonial rule, Indonesian occupation, and struggle for independence. The country's background includes ancient Austronesian and Papuan settlements, followed by centuries of Portuguese colonial rule, which ended in 1975. Indonesia's subsequent invasion and occupation, lasting until 1999, led to widespread human rights abuses and ultimately a UN-sponsored referendum for independence. After a violent period following the referendum, Timor-Leste officially declared independent in 2002. Since Timor-Leste was granted official observer status and received in principle approval to become a member of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, during the 4th and 41st ASEAN Summits in Cambodia in 2022. The nation has moved slowly toward membership in the 10-nation bloc. Last May, at the 42nd ASEAN Summit in Labuan Bajo, Indonesia ASEAN's member states adopted the roadmap for Timor-Leste's full ASEAN membership and its annexes, formulated by the ASEAN Coordinating Council after fact-finding trips to the country. Subsequently, in September 2023, during the 43rd ASEAN Summit in Jakarta, Indonesia President Joko Widodo encouraged ASEAN member states and external partners to help Timor-Leste fulfill the criteria stipulated in the roadmap.
The first social issue that happened in Timor-Leste is domestic violence. According to the International Women Development Agency, IWDA, 59% of women have experienced intimate partner abuse, making sexual and gender-based violence a significant problem in Timor-Leste. Furthermore, according to one study, 33% of women between the age of 15 to 49 years old have suffered sexual assault and 5% have experienced physical abuse at some point in their life since the age of 15. Besides that, Timorese human rights organizations have also stated on a number of occasions that the payment of bride price, bar laki, often leads to women being treated as property and encourages domestic violence. The term bar laki actually describes the traditional ceremonial exchanges that take place at marriage ceremonies, which include the bride and the groom's family exchanging priceless presents and significant objects. However, the growing problem of post-marriage domestic violence has brought the sensitivity surrounding bar laki to the forefront. This has led to a debate about whether bar laki is good because it is part of East Timorese culture or it is bad because it means men buying women in marriage and causing them domestic violence. Lastly, it is also found that among the 1,260 married women in Timor-Leste Demographic and Health Survey who had ever suffered from physical or sexual violence by their husband, 17.3% of them reported having some form of injuries, including burns, dislocations, sprains, eye injuries, bruises and wounds, broken bones, or broken teeth. Gender inequality is the second social concern in Timor-Leste. For example, in economic sector, women encounter more obstacles in developing and scaling their businesses compared to men. This is because men are generally viewed as the head of households, main providers and decision makers, while women are responsible for child rearing and household chores. This limits their capacity to engage in their own economic activities, although the government of Timor-Leste consider female entrepreneurs, including women who own micro and small businesses, as growth engines. Apart from that, the participation of women in the government is also a clear indication of gender disparity. Although women make up a significant percentage of parliamentarians, however, they are underrepresented at the local level, especially as Suku chiefs, where there are only 21 out of 442 of Suku chiefs are women. Finally, one of the problems that contributes to gender inequality in Timor-Leste is gender wage disparities. Though it is not as serious as in other nations, there is a gender pay disparity in Timor-Leste, with men making somewhat more than women. Women make 6.6% less than men on average, according to the 2021 Labour Force Survey, with differences depending by industry and employment.
The first economic issue in Timor-Leste is high dependence on oil and gas revenue. In 2024, Timor-Leste's economy remained heavily reliant on its petroleum fund, which is sourced from oil and gas production. While the fund played a crucial role in the government finances, its dwindling resources due to declining oil and gas production pose a significant risk to the nation's long-term fiscal and economic stability. In order to reducing the issue, the government actively seeking ways to reduce its dependence on the fund, including implementing tax reforms and exploring new economic avenues. The government created a petroleum fund in 2005, where income from oil and gas export is saved and invested. This fund is the main source of the public spending, often contributing over 85% of the national budget. Hence, Timor-Leste is facing a fiscal cliff due to the dwindling receipts from existing oil fields and the current rate of withdrawal from the sovereign wealth fund. The fund is expected to run dry by 2034. Now, moving on to the second economic issue in Timor-Leste, which is poverty. According to WFP, which stands for World Food Programme, Timor-Leste poverty rate is estimated at 45.8% when considering multidimensional poverty, which is the highest in Southeast Asia. This means that a significant portion of the population experiences deprivation not only in terms of income, but also in areas like health, education, and living standards. Additionally, 16.0% of the employed population in Timor-Leste live below the poverty line of $2.15 purchasing power parity per day in 2024. Other than that, education is a major cause of poverty in Timor-Leste, which directly impact on employment. The country's educational issues prevent the development of a skilled workforce, which hinders the ability of the government to function effectively. This skill gap is particularly problematic for Timorese youth, where educational inadequacies have led to a 40% unemployment level.
Next is security issue. The first security issue is armed insurgent. In the wake of unrestrained violence between armed groups in Dili and its surround, large number of people fled into what became internally displaced people camp and remained for a period for over 2 years. It has been for this reason the government of Timor-Leste have focused significant time and effort on the issue of security sector development over the past 3 years. These development measures have included reconstitution and training of Timor-Leste security and military force, the basis of significant legislation further defining the roles and relationships security stakeholders, and development of close bilateral and multilateral relationships aimed at further developing Timor-Leste security institutions. For example, as Timor-Leste prepares to develop a national maritime authority, the Secretariat of State for Defense will consult closely with representatives of police, customs, fisheries, agriculture, quarantine and biosecurity, environment, foreign affairs, transport infrastructure, as well as raft of external stakeholders including the United Nations and regional partner nations. This style of cross-governmental and cross-sectoral approach is becoming commonplace throughout development activities in Timor-Leste, particularly in the security sector. The other security issue is border security. Like many developing countries, East Timor will find it hard to secure and manage its borders both at sea and on land. At sea, East Timor has significant maritime economic zone. Fishing is a potentially valuable resource and that will need protection. Piracy is endemic to the archipelago and could become serious for East Timor. The offshore oil and gas field will be East Timor's most important independent source of income. Control of movement in and out of the country will be crucial to minimizing transnational crime through East Timor to its neighbor. For example, Canberra will have direct concern about the potential for transnational arms and drug trafficking and people smuggling through East Timor toward Australia. East Timor land borders will be an even more important security issue.
This in ASEAN in 2022 and is working towards full membership. Joining ASEAN offers opportunities for economic growth and regional integration, but requires improvement in infrastructure, governance, and institutional capacity. High rates of domestic violence reflect deep-rooted gender inequality and harmful cultural practices like barlack. Gender inequality persists in economic participation, leadership roles, and wage disparities. Over-reliance on oil and gas revenue poses a major risk, with the petroleum fund expected to run dry by 2034. Widespread poverty and poor infrastructure continue to limit access to essential services. Lack of quality education hinders workforce development and contributes to high youth and unemployment. Urgent and need for reforms in gender equity, economic diversification, and investment in human capital.